Welcome into Nashville GameChangers. I'm your host, Jill Jelnick. And before we start, I want to first start by saying I named this podcast Game Changers because I wanted to be able to have conversations with sports figures in Nashville, not only that have had an impact on the field, on the court, on the ice, but that have also had an impact on the community, on the city. And to me, it's hard to find a better person that has had a bigger impact on Nashville when it comes to professional football than Jeff Fisher, former Titans coach, also the commissioner of arena football. Coach, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
I know this is a busy time for you. You're getting started with arena football right around the corner. You're also president of the Cats. I have to imagine you're just as busy as you used to be in the off season.
Yeah, a year and a half ago, before I even got involved in indoor football, I was out finding something else to do. You know, I was doing a lot of different things. What happens is, as a coach, and you've been around it and everything, you help people, you help teams, you help your players, and that's just the way you're wired. And so you help a player try to transform his weaknesses into strengths. You build a team, you help, and so, when I got out, I just pretty much continued it, and so I got involved in the Alliance of American Football. It was another league that came and went. It was the 11-on-11 this spring.
AAF, yeah.
Bill Pulford, and I went to work try to help Bill Pulley and Charlie Ebersol. And so I wasn't coaching. I just got kind of helped behind the scenes. And then, a couple years ago, my buddies at Fox, they asked me if I would help in, the USFL. So I got in the car, drove down to Birmingham, and
I met you there. I remember
that's
that.
when I coached. So I coached there. But it's just all about helping people. And the bottom line is I love the game and the players and the relationships. And if you can make a difference in a player's life or somebody's life, even off the field, just a spectator, or a child, or whatever it is, and it's all worth it. And so, just kind of how I'm wired. And so that's how I got into the indoor world. I got a phone call and didn't know much about it, despite the fact that, for however many years I'm working in an office over here, and we got an indoor and we got a team practicing in there. I didn't even know who they were, what they were doing, So I kind of fell in love with the game and continued to, have an affection for helping. And what I wanted to do was, I remember the memories over a period of maybe about a month as I was kind of easing into the indoor world. I had so many people, second generations, and people going, man, I love the Cats. And remember this, and find out they averaged 7,000 to 8,000 people a game, for years. And so, the more and more I looked at it, the more and more I liked it, was intrigued by it, was challenged by it, but also felt like I had an opportunity to help.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. And I say this, I just got back from Redland, Oregon, and Everett, Washington, and Dodge City, Kansas, and, watching 3 games. We just started our season. It was really, really cool watching these families, that come in. In some places, it's the only game in town. Yeah. And it's the thing that they look forward to. And unfortunately, we had some history last year where the league wasn't what we thought it was going to be. Right. So we kind of held everybody together, and now this technically is our inaugural season. So we don't have a whole bunch of teams because we didn't want to have to carry, the financial burden for other clubs. But it's off and running, and it's really fun right now. And we're less than 2 weeks away from our home opener here.
That's
so
right.
It's been fun.
Nashville Kats playing at the Municipal Auditorium downtown Nashville. And you mentioned a little bit of your coaching journey and what you're doing now, even though you're not coaching, right? Here, say you're obviously the commissioner, have your hand in so much with the Cats and the league. But coaching has been such a large part of your journey throughout your entire career. I mean, obviously you played in the NFL, played for the Chicago Bears, but then went right into coaching, eventually made your way to Nashville, was a head coach of the Titans 17 years, 22 years as a head coach, 30 plus as just a coach in the NFL. When you finally said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and hang it up from coaching, how long did it take you to kind of have that aha moment, or we can go ahead and call it that game-changing moment where you were like, you know what, I got that itch again. I'm ready for the next thing. How long did that take you?
It's a really good question. I didn't hang it up by choice. I was like most coaches, to quote Plum Phillips, there's some coaches that are fired and others are going to get fired. And so I got let go, but I have no regrets. I did everything I could for the Rams organization. I built that team. And I have friends still in the organization, and there's still a few players on the roster. And so I have no regrets, and that's going to happen. So I stepped out for a year and then kind of tried to get, kind of back in, but I wanted to make sure it was right. You won't believe the coordinators that I had lined up to go in, but things didn't work out for whatever reason. A couple of them were my choices, and then I just kind of let things settle. I'm an outdoor enthusiast, and I had no outdoor life while I was coaching. We still have a cabin in Montana, and I was 20 years where I never saw it between mid-July and the end of December, and so that's kind of where I've also filled in the gap. So I've been doing a lot of traveling, a lot of fishing, I'm really lucky to go places that most people might not get a chance to go, but I'm blessed based on the career that I had. And so I'm taking care of some of the passions that I had, but nothing can replace game day, even if it's an indoor game in Dodge City where the Cats are playing the Southwest Kansas Storm.
Yeah.
It's just cool. And when you get, the further and further you get away from the NFL, you realize how special the players are. Not that the NFL players aren't special, but these players, these young men, 90% of them are playing just because they love the game. They're not playing the hope that a scout's going to see them on a random stream game and maybe sign them to camp. Now we had 3, I guess, signed to NFL camps last year off the Cats roster,
that's great.
But they just love the game, and they have so much respect for their opponents, and they're walking around the arena and they're just slapping fans' hands and throwing them balls, and it's just it's real intimate. That's what really struck me as I was getting into it last year.
You're listening to Nashville Game Changers with Jill Jelnick. Stay with us. Yeah, it's obvious you love so much what you do, whether it's interacting with them on the field as a coach or as a commissioner, as front office. It's very clear how much you love being a part of their everyday lives. And that's been the story with you just here in Nashville, period. Especially when you were with the Tennessee Titans, how much you gave to the city, especially when the city didn't really know the Tennessee Titans yet. It didn't have an identity yet, right? Coming over from Houston, rebranding from the Oilers to the Titans. I have to imagine when you were leading that charge, you went through some adversity that is not normal for your average NFL coach.
Well, relocation is hard. I mean, that's what you're talking about. And it was hard. It wasn't like we just picked up and left and came in and picked up where we left off. No, it was ongoing. It was, those that remember, those that were here, know that, the rumor started, or the process started in 95. We were in Knoxville at Marysville College, and we're having joint practices with the Washington Redskins. My first full year in the preseason as a head coach of the Houston Oilers, and that's when the rumor started. So now we don't get here until 97,
right?
And we don't move into a stadium until 99. So you got 5 years in there if you include that 95 season and the 99 season where you finally get settled. And that was also, I got to do that again in St. Louis, moving them to LA. But what you realize early on, what I realized, that when we came specifically to Nashville, the only game in town was NASCAR, and then you had UT and you had Vanderbilt.
That's it.
And that was
no Preds, yeah.
But what I realized that shortly after moving here, when I was reading about Vince Gill doing a benefit concert at Franklin High School because his kids were going there, I thought, that's really cool. And then you hear more and more what the music industry, the entertainers and the artists, the writers, everybody how they were relating and what they were doing for the community. If there's a tornado, they were there, and so we took notice of that, and, you got no choice. And not that we weren't going to be that way, but that was a huge deal from an organizational standpoint, was what can we do to affect the community. Now, we drove around, had our caravans, and, that because somebody said, hey, you need to do this and go out, shake hands, and, kiss babies and do all that kind of stuff so we can sell tickets.
Do people still kiss babies? Is that still a thing? Okay, good.
No,
You're probably,
I usually got the ones with the dirty diapers.
Yeah.
We just realized how important it was to travel around the state. We did, and we did a lot of things. I mean, we did a lot of things organizationally. We did a lot of spontaneous things. I mean, we had the flood here. I mean, we were probably 3 or 4 blocks down the road, and we're tearing houses down. And I got players in there helping us. Hey, do me a favor. You can bring me a Phillips screwdriver, will you? I got to disconnect this thing from the refrigerator so we can get it out. And he'll walk up with a hammer, not even knowing, a player's not even knowing what a Phillips screwdriver is. But the point is they were out helping.
Yeah.
And they were doing everything that possibly could. And so we've had so many great foundations over the years. Even I'm sure there's so many right now. I'm not involved with the Titans per se, but I'm hearing about the good things that are going on. And so, we kind of set the groundwork for that, but there's no reason why you can't get in and give everything you possibly can back to the community. We had a softball game here for 10 or 11 years, and we had Keith Urbans and
all the country music stars,
Kenny Chesney,
lining up,
and Vince and Amy. But it was all so much fun, and it all went to all the proceeds, the benefits went to the much needed charities.
And somehow you were able to not just survive that relocation process, but also not having a home for several years, but you were able to not just go through that difficult transition, but coming out of that, you had that 99 team that went to the Super Bowl that just clicked. What was it about that team that you were able to help lead them to the biggest game in football after having gone through so much adversity early on and essentially a rebuild just years before?
Yeah, I think one of the things, looking back, and it is the case now, one of the things that can create problems for a professional sports team, specifically in the NFL, and teams are distractions. So whatever the distraction is, it could be a player issue, it could be this, it could be that. But a distraction in the locker room can build, but so you want to avoid distractions.
Yeah.
We had our share of distractions. We learned how to navigate through them. When you're talking about playing, in Memphis and then Vanderbilt and then moving to the stadium and obviously finishing, as a lame duck in Houston. So the guys that we had, having been through that, understood how to focus, how to turn it on, how to turn it off. And we put together, I say we, Floyd, Reese and I, and the rest of the staff put together a pretty good roster. And, hey, we're down by 9, 4 or 5 minutes left to go in the opener here in 99 against Cincinnati. And Jeff Blake cramps up and can't come back in the game. And Steve puts 10 points on the board in 4 minutes, and we win the opener.
Yeah. And
then fortunately, after that, we go on undefeated here at home. That's hard to do. So, and then the things that happen, the stuff in Indy with Peyton, but the Music City Miracle,
of
and,
course.
All those things. And then the win at Jacksonville. But 2000, we had a better team. Yeah. And anybody associated with will tell you it was a better team. We didn't get there. We had balls bounced the wrong way, and against Baltimore didn't get there. And 01 was not good. We had injuries. In 02, we went back to championship game. So we had great support. Mr. Adams, Bud Adams, and he understood. He understood it. And now you might have to wait 6 months to get a PO signed by him for a $40 laser pointer.
Yeah.
But other than that, you didn't have to wait 4 hours to get a couple $1 million out of him to sign a much needed player. And so he knew what was important. So Yeah, so I just have, so many people to thank over the years, but we learned, we learned through the hands-on experience. We had tough times, we had family tragedies, and we had all kinds of things that everybody else did, but we kind of, we rallied together, and it was a real cool team. And I understand recently you had one of those members, and Derek Mason.
D-Mace,
D-Mace had such a big role in our success those couple of years. Touchdown return after a safety in Jacksonville, and he did a lot of really good things for us. He was a big part of that.
Stay with us. You're listening to Nashville Gamechangers with Jill Jelnick. Is it hard to believe that was 25 years ago?
It was yesterday.
It was yesterday.
Yesterday still.
It doesn't still, does that last play still keep you up at night sometimes?
The last play of the Ram game in Atlanta? No. I didn't, it took me probably about 18, maybe 20 years to look at it, watch it on tape.
Really? It took you that long just to look at it?
I didn't watch the TV tape or the game tape, or the TV tape for that matter, the game up until a few years ago. I was doing some kind of thing on it, and I wanted to be accurate with my stats, but I know what happened. I know what I said to Steve after the game. I know what I told the team at halftime, and, I know how it ended, and, I'll always remember Dick, me finally being able to find Dick Vermeil, Coach Vermeil, and shake his hand. But, it was, people don't realize this. It was the last time the NFL had just 1 week between the championship game and the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. So it was a blur for us. I mean, everybody for every Super Bowl that everybody else can remember right now, there's 2 weeks.
Yeah.
There's nothing going on that first weekend after the championship game. Mm-hmm. It's all move-in hype, but no, we were playing. Yeah. And it was a blur. And, but nonetheless, the Music City Miracle, for example, I don't know, we had 63,000 people in the stadium. I know I've talked to 100,000 people who said that they were there, but the history and the tradition, we laid it down, and, I think anybody that has an opportunity to play in the organization is pulling for the organization after they leave, and that's the case for me as well.
Of course, you've always said that with the Tennessee Titans, and they are going through their own struggles right now. Tennessee Titans finishing last in the league last year, do have the #1 pick. You have a now second year of Brian Callahan, head coach Brian Callahan, first year of their new GM, Mike Bergonzi. There's so much about this season that screams new build and restart, right? Because they also are trying to figure out their quarterback situation as well. When you look at what the current Titans are going through now and maybe compare it a little bit to your relocation process, trying to jumpstart that franchise here in Nashville as the Titans, not the Oilers, what were some of maybe a key or two that helped you get the Titans to where they ended up in that Super Bowl game in '99? What might be a key then that you thought of that could be relevant to them now?
Well, it's all about the roster. It's building your roster and having a plan and being right. Sometimes being lucky, and having people there that we start off. There was no doubt in our minds that we needed a quarterback. We needed a franchise quarterback. Well, we went out and drafted one and brought him along. We didn't bring him. We didn't throw him in there right away. I brought him along slow. These quarterbacks need time. Most of them. There's exceptions, but most of them, they're all different. So you have to evaluate who you're doing with, where the potential is, where the strengths and weaknesses are, and then get them the right amount of playing time, which we did. So we drafted a quarterback, we drafted a running back, we built our offensive line, and then we continued to continue to build the team and put the pieces together and plan. And so, we were planning 2 years in the future. During the season, so you want to stay there. You want to stay at a high level as best you can, as long as you can. But there's always going to be, that aspect. You don't want to say rebuild, but you're going to have to bring new faces, and it's the new era, and we had that. But I think from from a Titan standpoint, I think people ought to be excited about it. There's a model out there right now, and I think people need to take a hard look and see what the Washington Commanders, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes,
I call them the Redskins.
Yeah.
So, and I still do.
Yeah, and that's okay.
But what they did last year.
Yeah, because with Dan Quinn, first year,
Dan went
unbelievable.
From nowhere.
Yeah.
And he put a team together, but he got the right combination of seasoned vets that have been there through free agency. Not a lot of them, but a guy here and a guy there that they knew could run the locker room. And then they went out and got some dynamic players, young players, and they put it together.
The quarterback,
and they throw, hey, this day and age, it takes a break here and there.
Yeah.
Hail Mary at the end, they win a game, and then all of a sudden, but. There's a model out there, and so I think, the Titans are on the right track. They, I can't sit here and tell them what they do and what they don't do with that pick, but I've had experience with the pick before, and on both sides, trade up to get it or trade out, and so the trade out thing is appealing to a lot of people.
Yeah, as
long as you're assured that you're going to get the guy that you want, and that doesn't always happen. There's no guarantees, but if you can reasonably predict that you have 2 or 3 guys that if you trade down, that you can win with, in addition to all the other picks that you're going to get, and make sure that they're right, then that's an option. So, but we'll wait and see. They're going to make the right decisions. I think there's a good core group of players here. You had I don't want to say an inexperienced coaching staff, but I think you had coordinators that were doing it for the first time. And so everybody has to start. I started, everybody has to start, but they usually come back so much better the second year, with the experience and things. So I think there's a lot to look forward to here.
When you were talking about your team and the building blocks, right? How you had a good roster for that 99 team, Steve McNair, obviously, being one of them. And you mentioned how important is that quarterback position. Is it more difficult, less difficult, having the number 1 pick when you also need a quarterback if that top guy in the draft right now is not your obvious Patrick Mahomes, it's not your obvious Josh Allen? Is the Titans situation more difficult because they are strapped looking for their franchise quarterback? Well,
they are, and so they're also evaluating, those that are on the roster, and if a franchise quarterback's not there, you can still win games. But now, Will's been his 3rd offense in 3 years, so whatever that looks like, that's a hard thing to go through
for anybody,
especially for anybody, and then having to carry a team that lost the one player on offense that could pull him out of a hole, and that's Derek. And so it's different, it's different. But I don't know I haven't evaluated anybody. I stopped doing that. But they'll make the right decision. If there's a franchise quarterback out there in their minds, I guarantee you they're going to find a way to get him, whether it's at the first pick or trade down and get the guy, down a little bit later.
Titans also have their new stadium right next door. You can visibly see the progress as you're driving on the highway past the old Nissan Stadium, seeing the new one. And you have to imagine, with that physical reminder right there, the new stadium's coming. It's symbolic of a new era for the Titans, right? And you have to imagine the Titans front office, Amy Adams-Strunk, they want to get this one right and try to set the course for the future, and open up that stadium with a lot of energy, excitement, and obviously wins. How much pressure you think this Titans staff is feeling right now, not only just with the new stadium, but knowing that this is their shot with this number 1 pick to try to get it right?
Well, I don't know. As far as pressure is concerned, the stadium's going to open whether they win or not. Okay, it always helps. That always helps. But and there's other reasons for the stadium. I mean, it seems like yesterday we went in it for the first time, but there's other reasons. There's potential other activities, like Super Bowls and
Final Fours.
All those things, and so that's what they're planning for. You have this is what I hope though in that process, however they end up, because you have a demographic of fans that were original, and they stayed there through thick and thin all the way through, and I just hope that they get an opportunity to get in there rather than Nashville's grown. I mean, it's 3 times the size it was when we got here. And you got a lot of people in here and a lot of money in here. And they're taking advantage of that. But don't forget about the little guys that were here to begin with, So when they say, oh, gosh, can we please do some tailgating? Please, listen to them. And give them a reason why they're not going to be able to.
Yeah. Well, the season will be here. Before you know it, the new stadium will be here. Before you know it, arena football is already here. Nashville Kats, be sure to check them out at the Municipal Auditorium downtown in Nashville. Coach Fisher, also the commissioner of arena football. Coach, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. And thanks for all that you've done for this city, for sports world, and all that you're going to continue to do for a long time. We really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, and we need to get together again. I got way too many stories.
I know. I was just gonna say we did it. This was probably the PG podcast. This was the good one. Yeah. We'll have some stories for next time. Coach, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.